All right, so I had a lot of people come ask me, how do you make that drill bass? The bass I'm talking about is that really fat, squelchy bass that you hear in UK drill beats, something like this. Now, this bass is relatively easy to make, and there's really two concepts here to get it to sound right. The first is the basic synthesis techniques, and then secondly is how you employ the bass in terms of the MIDI notes that trigger it. So we'll walk you through all these steps, and by the end of this video, you should be able to make the drill bass. Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare, but more on this later. By the way, I'm designing today's sound with Vital, which is a free VST. And as well, I've made this pretty sick preset for it. I'm calling it the Ultimate Drill Bass preset. If you want it, you can check it down in the link below. All right, so the resulting preset should sound like this. And let's just jump right into it. And again, we're using the synth Vital, and you guys should all be able to grab Vital because it is for free. And I'll leave a link down below so you guys can find it. Also, I'm using this really cool skin for Vital. It's called Atom Blue. And I'll leave a link down below if you're interested in grabbing this. All right, so the basis of the grime or the drill bass is really, the way I would do it is to use a square wave. So under the waveform selector, we're just gonna select the basic shapes. You have the sine wave, and I also like this form as well. It's kind of a crushed sine wave, so you get that warm sound. Then you get a triangle, sawtooth, and then square, and then you get these pulse width kind of squares. But this square is what you want. And just make sure you're playing it at the right octave. I believe I'm playing this at F0 right now. Just want to make sure it's playing those sub frequencies. Next step is quite easy. Just enable the filter on the bottom left to take off some of those low frequencies. And then you can use this bottom slider to reduce the cutoff frequency. Adjust to your liking. I like it somewhere down there, 200 to 100 hertz. By the way, if you're seeing semitones and instead of hertz, just go into the advanced panel and you can change the frequency units from semitones to hertz. So then you'll see hertz, which is what I'm used to. I like to use round values. I actually like 110 or 220. I believe 220 is equal to the note of A. Same for 110. It's just an octave lower. So you get that nice sub. And I'm using low pass 12. If you want a more sharper slope to drop off and filter more of that high end, you can use a 24 pull. Optionally, you can add some drive to this filter to make it sound warmer. And then another thing that helps is to make this a mono synth, because right now you can play multiple notes. And since this is a bass line, you don't want that. You don't want notes to overlap. So make this one voice. So every time you hold down an additional note, it cuts out the preceding note. Next is portamento or glide. We're adding glide in between notes, and this helps with that kind of funky, squelchy vibe of the drill bass. So the way that glide works is if you play overlapping successive notes, the preceding note will glide up to the next note. And that gives us that kind of squelchy drill vibe. So all right, the next step adds a similar effect as the glide. We're going to be adding pitch modulation to the bass so it pitches up at the beginning of the note. And to do this, I'm going to use LFO1 and enable it as an envelope. You can either use a short 16th note or 32nd, or you can change this to seconds, and then we can adjust this by ear. But what we're going to do is move this point all the way up here, so the note will move from bottom and up. So what we're going to do then is then go into the matrix, and then we're going to choose LFO1, and the next destination will be our global voice transpose, which is essentially the global tune. And then we're going to change this amount. You can enter value to 12. So now it pitches up. And then adjust the timing. Now this depends on the BPM of your track. Now I'm just going to open up the cutoff so you can hear this a little more clearly. So as we increase the timing, it takes longer for it to rise up. We want it quick. So I say anywhere between 80 to 120 milliseconds should work. In actuality, the way I found the timing here was I used this guide to convert our notes into milliseconds. So you can type the tempo of your track. Our track is 140 beats per minute. So we can see that a 16th note is 107 milliseconds, 32nd note is 34, and then we can do even shorter. So I'm going to do a dotted 32nd, which would be 27 times 3. So 27 times 3 would give us 81. So, and the reason why I'm using that is that 81 milliseconds will make it reach the top and then play a bit of it at the top before it reaches the end of a 16th note. And I'll explain why I've chosen this value. And this is how it sounds right now. You hear that pitch slide at the beginning. Now, since this envelope pitches 12 semitones up, you may have to adjust the pitch of your oscillator -12 to compensate for that. Okay, and now we have our bass note again. Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. If you're a beginner, you want to learn the basics of music production and Ableton, then make sure you check out my Ableton Essential Exercises on Skillshare. I have a series of 5 classes where you'll learn the basics of drum programming, cutting up breaks, and also writing bass lines. And I just added some new additions to my Chopping Breaks 101 class. So if you want to get a few more advanced tips on cutting up breaks, make sure you check out that class. For those that don't know, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes to help you improve and expand on your creativity and passions. In addition to their music production classes, I encourage you guys to check out their graphic design, marketing, and even video editing classes. All essential skills for a musician today. The benefit of Skillshare is that there are no ads, and the first 1,000 people that use my link in the description will receive 1 month free trial of their premium membership. So check it out, and I'll see you at my class on Skillshare. All right, after this, we can go into our effects section. We can add some distortion if you like. That just gives it more timbre. And then we can then enable the EQ, and we can add some more bass to it. I'll set the cutoff to 110. Round up that resonance. The following steps are additional. You could filter this down further. So again, bring it back down to that 110. And then you can add an additional filter, so filter 2. So now we have to go back to our oscillator and just make sure that this oscillator is being sent to both filter 1 and 2. So now these 2 filters behaves as 2 independent parallel filters. And then this second filter, we're gonna make this a bandpass filters to add mids on top of that sub bass. So I'm gonna disable filter 1 so you can hear it. And then to make this a bandpass, this slider switches between high pass to low pass, and in the middle is bandpass. So you see this mountain shape in the middle. Now you can adjust the cutoff to like. Just make sure, I like to match the pole. So if you're using 24 dB on filter 1, I would use 24 here as well. You can try the other filter types here as well, but I like the analog one. It just sounds nice, round, and fat. Okay, so this adds some additional mid to that bass to add more character. So then we can add the sub back and then adjust this to taste. You can open that up if you want a little more character. Now, if you want to take this a bit further and make it sound more like old school grime basses, this is another optional step. You can increase the unison mode. I'd say around 3 to 6 is good. And just bring the spread of those 3 voices closer. So instead of 20%, let's bring it down. And then we can open up the filter if you like. So now it sounds more like grime. If you want full grime mode, you can turn off the second filter and just open this up. Love that sound. But let's bring this back to drill mode, so low frequencies. And actually, I'm going to turn off this unison mode because that unison mode is more for that grime sound. But I just wanted to show you so you have that option. So you're getting various techniques here. Okay, let's bring it back to 1 and then bring this back. Now, if you're using only one voice, what I like to do is make the randomizer 0% so that it always sounds the same every time you trigger the note. Another helpful thing is go into the advanced section and make sure you're using high res wavetable. I think it just makes the sound better. And that's pretty much the drill bass. So once again, I have this full preset down in the link below. Actually, I'll show the preset for you guys. I've actually added a bunch of macros here to make it really easy for you to shape your sound to your liking. So we can change the shape. You can go for the sine wave with this macro. And then you can change the filter. And we're actually on sine wave, so there's no harmonics. There we are. There's this nasty knob, which adds to that unison. And then there's some FM if you want to make it sound really nutty. Oh, one step I forgot is to add some amplitude envelope to your bass so that it actually fades out. You want to make it kind of behave like an 808. So let's go back to our patch. So I'm talking about envelope 1, which is dedicated to the overall volume of our bass. So over here, you want to bring the sustain all the way down and then adjust the curve of the decay. You may want to increase the decay to 2 or 3 seconds. Okay, so now that fades out. It just gives the bass a little more character if you add some a decay to it. Okay. All right, and so yeah, that's pretty much the bass. And now we're going to get into how you execute writing notes of this bass. All right, the first step to writing a drill bass is using the right notes. So drill tends to have kind of that really funky dark feel to it. And one of the scales that is used a lot is the harmonic minor. So what I'm doing is I'm using the scale of D harmonic minor. And usually we just start with D as the first note and that holds for 2 beats. And then you can follow it with additional notes to add that funkiness. And simply by going up the scale and writing melodies as you would a lead. So one of the funky things is when you connect notes to create that glide. So notice I have 2 notes here that connect. So if it didn't connect, it would sound like this. But if you connect the notes, now it activates the glide. Notice how funky that sounds. Let me just disable the glide so you can hear the difference. So this is without glide. And then back to, and then we can adjust accordingly. And then the next step is to add short high notes. So like these 2 notes here, go an octave up from the root note. We can even go here. Let's check. You can do longer melodies like this. So these short notes have that really funky feel, and that's also thanks to our LFO. So remember we had an LFO here. So let's say if we disable this pitch envelope here, if we can exit out. So notice that we've lost that funk. And let's bring that pitch envelope back. So that's all thanks to this envelope here. So this one, I'm going 2 octaves up. So if we bring this back down to the same octave, it would sound like this. And then let's bring this 1 octave up. And that's sounding funkier. And let's bring it to the 2nd octave up. So that's when it gets really funky, when you move things 2 octaves up. Now, if you're playing these short notes, you need some amplitude release on the bass. Otherwise, it's going to sound cut off and staccatoed. So my bass has a release of about 300 milliseconds. But if we had 0 release, this is how it's going to sound like. So now it sounds really short, right? And remember I mentioned the length of that pitch envelope. And actually these notes are 30-second notes. So actually the length I had was incorrect, because I think I put 80 milliseconds when and if we play 80 milliseconds, the entire length of that pitch envelope would not play out if you were to play a 30-second note. So it has to be actually 54 milliseconds. So let's change that. And actually I changed it. So before 0.081 milliseconds. Let's change that to 54. You just get more of that pitch envelope. Like if it was too long, then it wouldn't. See it. You can see the indicator, right? If it reaches the top of that pitch envelope, it doesn't reach because it's too long. So you got to make it short enough. So again, 54 milliseconds seems about right. And to fix the notes so it doesn't sound like it's cut off, add some release, and you can adjust this to taste. You can have a short release, right? Like 100 milliseconds or even 50 milliseconds. Or you have a longer one. So longer one sounds kind of funky, has got this kind of futuristic sound. Or you have it really long. I like it around 300. And it's sounding much better now. All right, and that's pretty much how you use the grind or this drill bass. Once again, start with a longer 1-note bass at the root note of your scale, and then add connected or overlapping gliding notes. And what you want to do is play perhaps the root note and then connect to the same note but an octave higher or 2 octaves higher. And then you play more funky melodies with shorter notes like this to employ that pitch envelope. And remember, these shorter notes are 2 octaves above the main bass note, because these kind of play more of a melody as opposed to the bass. It kind of accompanies the bass almost like a call and response. All right, so now that you know how to make the basics of a drill bass and how to execute it when writing notes, let's check out the sequence with some vocals so you can hear it in context.
I'ma blow couple O's, then I'm cutting off my hoes. Get a couple new B's after every fucking show. That's my shit, let it drip. I'ma dip just cause that's my shit, let it drip. I'ma dip just cause I'ma blow couple O's, then I'm cutting off my hoes. Get a couple new B's after every fucking show. That's my shit, let it drip. I'ma dip just cause that's my shit, let it drip. I'ma dip just cause I'ma blow.
Oh yeah, it's sounding grimy like that UK drill. Love that vibe. And once again, if you want, you can grab the preset for free down in the link below. It's for Vital, which you can also grab for free as well. But other than that, I hope you guys got the basics of writing this UK drill bass. Again, it's simple steps. It's just using that square wave, adding pitch modulation, adding glide, and of course executing the notes the right way by using overlapping gliding notes as well as higher octave notes to play that melody on top. And once you get that down, you should be on your way to writing some awesome UK drill. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Other than that, Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you at the next video. If you want to support, we got a new preset pack out with some big bass sounds. It's called Wubs and Wobbles. You can check it out in the link below. And while you're at it, you can check out my other product as well. But if you're not ready to buy yet, remember you can download these products for free, also down in the link below.